So, again, let's call the regular meeting to order. And any additions or deletions?
Those two additions they're actually listed on there.
term sheet. Yeah, those are both additions that are, sorry for the.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right.
So,
We do this next. We have to-
yes,
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. But 2447, let's do these two and then we can go to that.
Okay. So now back to the term sheet. For Station 28, funding.
okay, I'm just going over some of my notes.
Well, you weren't prepared.
Right, yeah, we worked on this together, but she was gonna present. So we've been working on the design and build of Station 28 for quite some time. We got to the 60% point, and then beyond that, we need to, before we can get the final agreement, we don't have our financing lined up yet. So that has been put on hold for about a week now, 2 weeks now. They're still working, ZHA and Foresters are still working, but we have to get to the point where we can pay them to move forward. So with tonight, one of the things we have to do is get the financing approved. These are the terms that were negotiated between the banks and the attorneys. Laura Jacob Thomason's office, Carlin Kowalski, and Jeff's been involved, I believe, with pretty much all these things. The meeting we had today is we have to get the financing approved, then they'll get us a final agreement, Fortress will, and then we have 40 days to accept or decline their final agreement, and if we decline it, we don't owe any monies. If we accept it, we have to pay the funds that were set aside up front for the design and engineering, which I want to say it's about the $600,000 mark. And then we'll determine moving forward what the final date is on construction of the project. So we have a timeline that's just been on hold because we haven't been able to agree to the terms on the financing. So that all was worked out, and you all have Exhibit A, and that's the terms of the financing that need to be agreed to. We let them know tomorrow whether or not the board approved them, and then they'll have a final agreement to us right away. And then we have 40 days to accept or reject it for the proceeding with Station 28.
I did ask Erin before the meeting if this was a fixed rate mortgage for 15 years, which she said it was, at 4.59%. As it's stated in here, there's 2 payments a year. And you get interest payments January 1st and July 1st, and then an annual principal reduction. We're paying $20,000, it looks like, for this loan to be processed, which is fair, I guess, for this amount of the loan. And I think it's a good term for the district for a locked-in fixed rate at that amount, or that interest rate.
Right.
I would make a motion for the district to approve of this letter and have them finalize the proposal. That's what we're looking for.
We have a second. Okay. Any more discussion?
I'm sorry, who was the second?
I'm sorry. Any further discussion? All right. Call the vote.
Discussion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. It passes. So the bank term is being accepted. And then the emergency procurement authorization, Station 27 litigation.
All right. So this is just a statement of attestation. So in putting in all the FEMA reimbursements, one of the things that we have to make sure we do is abide by all of our purchasing policies that are in place. And in reference to one of our policies that's in place, which is very out of date, needs updating because some state statutes have changed. We're going to revise that, but it says that in reference to the emergency procurement of contractual services, after Hurricane Helene came in, we contracted with Blue Sky for the immediate mitigation of the storm so we can get back into Station 27. And that was at a recommendation of our insurance carrier. We reached out to them and they were able to get and start on our project right away. So it says here, in reference to the emergency procurement of contractual services with Blue Sky, policy 259, although under revision, 259.3 subsection N states, statement under oath. The fire chief shall file with the board a statement certifying the conditions and circumstances requiring an emergency purchase of commodities or contractual services in excess of the threshold amount of category 3. Statements shall be submitted within, there's a typo, within 30 days after the date of purchase order or contract, and shall include details surrounding events which created the emergency. A copy of the purchase order shall accompany the statement. Now, we haven't signed the purchase order yet, and that's what we're asking for approval of tonight as well. Right?
To allow you to sign a purchase order.
Right, because of the threshold amount, it's $90,713. So the statement that you should have in front of you, Chair, says the conditions and circumstances that warranted this contractual service was Hurricane Helene, where Station 27 received approximately 3 feet of contaminated floodwaters inside the first floor of the fire station, rendering the offices uninhabitable and contaminated with bacteria. To mitigate the damages and prevent illness to employees or visitors, Blue Sky was contacted on recommendation of our insurance carrier, Brown & Brown, specifically Kyle Stokel. Upon contacting Blue Sky, they were able to get started to mitigate the hazards immediately, and the decision was made to contract with them while they were still immediately available. This is before they opened the beaches back up. The total invoice from Blue Sky for mitigation is $90,713.58. Amounts not covered by our insurance will be included in our FEMA request for reimbursement for Hurricane Helene, which is DR 4828. Respectfully submitted, Jeffrey Davidson, Fire Chief. So that would go into the record as to why we did this emergency purchase, just to follow our policies that are in place.
What's our deductible? You know, is that an error? Of course, that's an error question.
I think it's 200,000.
No. 200,000 deductible? This is for our flood insurance?
If I remember correctly, and I don't have my book here because I've been dealing with all the insurance. I believe it's 5% up to a certain amount, but I would have to double check because I don't have it with
Well,
me.
usually 2% or 5% is related to hurricane or windstorm insurance.
Yeah.
With flood, it could be 500, it could be 2,500, it could be 10,000. So,
I'm not sure on that. but-
yeah.
If I had the book with me, which I didn't know I need because Aaron wasn't here, I would be able to answer that
Because
for you.
our flood policy is going to cover this invoice, I would assume, right? Hopefully.
We have received to this date, I believe, a little over $100,000, maybe a little more from insurance already. I think to the amount of like $160,000. But that was partially for the station and also for the vehicles.
Okay.
But I don't have all that with me.
Okay.
I can
No, fine, we can get that answer as soon as possible. So that's the attestation letter that's required, that's gonna help us to make sure we get the full FEMA reimbursement. And I just need the authorization to sign this purchase order for $90,713.58 to Blue Sky for mitigation services during Hurricane Helene, and attaches the time and material data that they have in there.
Are we submitting payment to them for this amount?
Yes, sir.
And then we're looking to get reimbursed?
We'll get reimbursed from our insurance company, and then anything that's not covered, we're gonna put into the FEMA reimbursement.
We have a motion?
Oh, sorry.
Go.
just had another question before you. Is there an itemized invoice with it? I know that's what their total, we're gonna have to pay it, for the
Yeah.
services performed, but was there like an itemized?
There-
I don't need, I'm just curious, like, maybe.
There is, yeah. It was like 47 pages long, so it just chose to summarize it on the.
For drywall and drywall.
But I can provide it,
Yeah.
they itemized day by day the work that they did, so.
And they sent pictures, daily pictures, and the progress.
Alright, we're on the hook for it. To allow the chief to, sign off on this purchase order.
We have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have 2 seconds. Any further discussion? Take a vote? Aye. Motion is passed. We can sign that. And now, reports from the union. Any commission comments? Oh, I've got to back up, I'm so sorry. We need approval of the minutes for November 12th and December 9th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written for November 12th workshop and regular meeting and December 9th special meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then the treasurer's report.
We'll skip that, I guess.
There is, I believe,
I got it right
yeah,
here.
it is in there.
Yep. I'll read fast. This is the monthly report for the period ending November 30th, 2024. Investment program is in accordance with the policy at year end. 8.96 million held in an interest earning account, 3 million of which is restricted for Station 28 and 1.2 in non-interest checking. General fund budgeted revenues for ad valorem tax, fire assessments, and EMS funding are being received according to schedule. Fiscal year to date fire prevention revenue was $5,000 and investment interest total $69,000. Major fiscal year expense totals for personnel services, compensation, and benefits are currently projected within budget. A budget amendment will be required for hurricane-related operating expenses and reimbursement once those amounts are known. The district has 3 hurricane claims in process with FEMA, Debbie, Helene, and Milton. The expected reimbursement for Debbie is $120,000 for overtime, equipment usage and materials. Claims for Helene and Milton will involve those same cost categories plus damages to facilities and equipment not covered by insurance that are in process for calculation. Insurance receipts to date total $206,000, $26,000 for replacement of PS 900 and $180,000 for storm-related damages. Capital Projects Fund, fiscal year to date, impact fee receipts total $9,000 and capital expenditures total $257,000, representing 2 scheduled apparatus lease payments and the purchase of replacement PS 900. A budget amendment for Station 28 construction will be required once known.
Motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to accept
Thank you. Second.
the treasurer's reports, I remember.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we can go back quickly. Sir?
Go ahead, sorry.
No, no,
I
no.
got it, that's correspondence?
Yeah.
No, okay. Sorry, I was getting ahead.
Do we have any?
I don't know. Get faster. I thought you were about to say we're getting back to the union business, I gotta say, I got it, that's all right.
Any kind of correspondence? All right. Reports from the union. I think we have no one here for that. Reports, any correspondence from the commission, anything y'all want to talk about? Attorney?
Yes, I got a couple of things to report. So, and this goes back to a question I think it was Commissioner Christina's asked during the special meeting in regard to that letter that we got that was from the attorney from Friends of
Oh, yeah, that was last meeting.
Indian Rock Beach?
Yes, with the enforcement of the short-term rental stuff.
Right.
That was a letter that had been emailed to a couple of commissioners, I mentioned it last time.
A couple of sitting and a couple of old, but in any event, I told you I was gonna reach out. I did. I'm happy to report I had 2 or 3, I can't remember exactly, very productive phone calls with the attorney. One of those phone calls also included the chief. It started out a little contentious, but once the older people in the room started talking, we were able to calm things down. And anyway, most of that is under control. So their concerns were that there were certain properties that they didn't think we were fulfilling what they defined as our legal obligations in conducting inspections. I didn't really agree with their legal definitions, but it kind of didn't matter because what we learned when I looked into it is that there were a number of properties that had, of course, registered with the City of Indian Rocks Beach under their ordinance to get authority to conduct short-term rentals and, fill out all the forms and all that. And apparently, were approved by the city, but I think there might have been 30 on the list, and of those, only 7 or 8 had actually turned around and registered with the fire district as short-term rentals, so that would then trigger the fire district's ability to inspect these properties. Without getting into whether we have a right to or a duty to, become police and detectives and all that kind of stuff, we worked through all of that. The upshot is there are no, we had inspected every property that had submitted a registration to us. And if something needed to be done, they had followed up on it, they got it done, whatever it was. What we agreed to do is to put together a letter, and the chief and I worked on that today, so that the letter, we could send a letter to these properties that have registered with the city, but not with us, and say, the city's records say, you registered for short-term rental, we don't have any record of that, we need you to comply and register, and explains how, it's necessary to protect the public, all that stuff, and as soon as we can get those together, we'll send them out. There's still some discussion over whether the district has a legal obligation to scour the records of Indian Rocks Beach, whoever else, has registration forms to see if they've in fact registered. And I don't want to get into that whole discussion here because I don't think it'll eventually matter. I think we can clean things up. And then the chief reached out to Indian Rocks Beach, their administration, to say, or to work something out, not just for these properties, but to make sure in the future that, we get notice when somebody registers, and then we can just keep a tab or send a letter, we see you registered, and take it from there. So I'm not expecting any legal action. I think we had it all worked out, and the guy's name was Tom Long, the attorney at Dunster, and kudos to him. I thought he did a good job working, and educating his client so that we could find an amicable resolution as opposed to, fighting things out, although it means, us attorneys don't make us I'm just kidding. So that's it. And yes, I did work with Aaron and Laura Donaldson on this Sonova Cenotes issue, make sure these documents, you know, were the way they needed to be, so.
Is that the only issue?
What's that?
Is that the only issue you had?
Pretty much.
Good.
I mean.
Wonderful. All right, fire chief. Last person on the agenda.
No, I don't have anything to add. You guys heard
Okay.
everything from Jeff.
Great.
Then last week I had to leave and we have a brand new beautiful grandson, Jacob, not Jacob, I'm sorry. See Jacob, I see that his name is not Jeff either. Oliver James, 8-pound, 1-ounce boy, and he's doing well. Mom's home, everything's good. So I came back after a couple of days visiting, and then I'm gonna head up there soon again to go visit for the holidays.
Congratulations,
Thanks, it's life changer.
both of it.
So, yeah, thank you.
All right. Our next meeting is a workshop and regular meeting, January 24th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at Indian Shores Municipal Building. And with that, I adjourn the meeting tonight.